It was a bloody day in Egypt after clashes left at least 51 people dead. Islamist supporters of the deposed President Mohamed Morsi fought Egyptian soldiers this morning, and there were fears that violence could get much worse. The Muslim Brotherhood has called on Egyptians to rise up against the army. This leaves the United States in an increasingly ugly and difficult position. The White House has so far refrained from calling President Morsi's ouster a coup. Legally, if the administration did conclude that, it would mean cutting off more than $1.5 billion in aid to the Egyptian government. Today, White House Press Secretary Jay Carney said the administration is still reviewing whether Morsi's ouster should be labeled a coup, but he warned that cutting off aid right away would not be in the best interest of the United States. NBC's First Read today noted that we can expect the Obama administration to take a more hands-on approach to what happens next in Egypt than it did 2.5 years ago when Mubarak was ousted. But how much influence does the U.S. really have? Howard Fineman is editorial director of the Huffington Post and an MSNBC political analyst. Joel Rubin is former Egypt desk officer at the State Department. Mr. Rubin, you're the perfect person to ask about this coup question and the significance of the lack of funding if all of a sudden it gets cut. How should this play itself out?
Well, Michael, right now there's still chaos on the streets in Cairo. There's blood on the streets, quite literally. And what we need to make sure is that this powder keg doesn't have an unwitting match lit next to it. And we need to not wade into a situation where cutting aid precipitously right now is that match. So there is an assessment underway. We have a chance now to engage the Egyptians across the whole swath of political actors there and really push for where the revolution went 30 months ago, which is to try to be inclusive and to try to create a democratic path that's sustainable and that the Egyptians control.
Yesterday, John McCain did something that so far few in Washington seem to be willing to do, officially at least, and that's call what happened in Egypt a coup.
It was a coup, and it was the second time in 2.5 years that we have seen the military step in. It's a strong indicator of the lack of American leadership and influence since we urged the military not to do that. And reluctantly, I believe that we have to suspend aid until such time as there is a new constitution and a free and fair election.
Howard Fineman, are we on the side of democracy or not?
Well, that's a good question. I think we are in theory. And perhaps in the long run, we are, in fact, in Egypt if the democratic, the people who support democracy, truly support democracy in Egypt, can get together to take power peacefully. But Senator McCain is right. I don't think there's any doubt that in real functional terms, this is a military coup. What's happening is that President Obama's foreign policy in that region, which he enunciated in 2009 in the same city of Cairo, is now running up against reality in Cairo. And his support for the democratic ideals as he spoke of them in 2009 are being tested on the streets right now. Talking to one White House official, they're not going any farther than they went today for now. Jay Carney's statement was as far as they're going to go at this point.
Joel, I see that some protesters there see America as being too close to the Muslim Brotherhood.
Well, it's an irony of sorts, Michael, because the United States is going to be blamed regardless, frankly, of the situation, and we have to get used to that. Context matters here. We have to remember that nearly 22 million Egyptians, more than a quarter of their population, signed a petition for Mohamed Morsi to leave power. And the military stepped in. Now, it's not to condone what the military did, but they saw an internal situation devolving quickly, and they made a decision. We don't have control over that, and our role in this is to make sure that they are getting back immediately to what it is they called for the other evening, which is a democratic process. Clearly, the Egyptian people are looking for more than what they got over the past year, and frankly, they're looking for more than what the military gave them in the prior year.
Gentlemen,
and it's really our responsibility to be engaged.
I wish we had more time. Thank you, Howard Fineman, as always. Thank you, Joel Rubin.
Thank you.